And we'd like to welcome everybody to not necessarily political. We got a special day today. We got a gubernatorial candidate that we actually like for a change. Can you believe that, Lonnie?
Hey.
Can you believe that, Lonnie?
I'm excited, guys.
Jesus Christ, man. But anyway, we're going to be nice today. But we got him all the way. Quite possibly.
Not necessarily.
We got him all the way down from Tuscaloosa. He's came down. And just to give you a little heads up, the youngest guy I've ever met running for governor, which is cool. And you got a birthday coming.
December 27th. Hey, you have done your research.
I do my homework.
But he also got small children. Now, how is that going to work?
I love it, though. I think he'll care more about the city. You know, he's not an old cat. That's, but anyway, I don't want to get into that. But you also are UAB grad.
UAB grad. Got my undergrad master's degree there and played a little football during my time.
I love it, man.
Just saw a basketball game for UAB, man. They did Alabama A&M pretty bad.
They beat him up pretty good.
Coakley, man. I love Coakley. He's a great player.
He's a great
guy.
guy.
Cleans the boards.
He does. He really does. But just for everybody that's listening and checking us out live here and live there, we got Mayor Walt Maddox here. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Man, first of all, we appreciate you coming.
It
was a pleasure meeting you doing.
Cleo King says, "My governor."
Absolutely.
You already got fans.
Thank you, Cleo.
But it was a pleasure meeting you during the Maddox City Classic. We got a chance to kind of chat a little bit, and for you not to know me, man, you were pretty inviting, and that stuck with me. Even after I told Lonnie, I said, "God, the guy's spirit is okay, man." So we got to get him on the show. So you're here, and for people that don't know you, who is Walt Maddox?
Well, I'm a Tuscaloosa native, born and raised there. Idlewood boy. Grew up in Tuscaloosa, went to Central High School, got my high school diploma there. Was asked, luckily walked on at UAB. Eventually earned a scholarship and played 4 years football at UAB.
What position?
Defensive tackle.
Defense.
Yeah, well, I used to weigh about 280.
I was just going to say,
I used to be a lot bigger than I am, although I do need to lose some weight. I broke my leg playing basketball last spring and still haven't recovered from it.
Wow.
No, I mean, you gain weight. Anyway, that's a long story. No one wants to know that. But
now we might know.
Now, I will say this, is that, I was trying to run down a guy 17 years younger than me. And that's how anyway, but that's my basketball days are over. But, got involved in politics by accident. I needed a job with health insurance when I graduated college, and I fell on my feet and fell on the Alabama Education Association. Field director of AEA, sure did. And eventually got transferred back down to Tuscaloosa, and then got elected to city council because of a sewer issue. Then ran for mayor, and now 12 years later, I got elected mayor in 2005, and 12 years later, here I am sitting with you, and we're running for governor, and we're going to win.
Absolutely.
You went unopposed one time as mayor, right?
I actually got to run twice unopposed.
I was trying to be humble for him, ladies and gentlemen. I knew it.
But that's saying you're doing your job. A mayor of a city, and nobody wants to run against you. Here in Birmingham, we have 45 at any given time.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So.
I think the question you have to ask is who's not running.
Absolutely.
But no, in this last election, we did have competition, and this is me bragging, I guess, but we won with 89% of the vote. And I think, and the reason why that's important is not just winning, but it shows you that in Republican boxes as well as Democratic boxes, people valued success and results. And that's something that's been missing a long time in state government.
Absolutely. Now, for you to win governor, was it 12 years ago? That means you were 32.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you believe a 10-year veteran and he's only 40? We're older than he is, right?
Older than him, yeah.
Well,
right.
and I remember at the time people saying, well, he's too young, and I would try to, fight that. But I certainly understand it. But there's something to be valued about youth and energy and passion and wanting to do well. And voters, I've been very fortunate. The people of Tuscaloosa have responded to our leadership. They've been patient with me at times when I haven't. Look, you make mistakes. Sometimes you make judgments that are not wise. The people of Tuscaloosa have always been good to me, and I value that relationship. I'm honored to serve my hometown. And the only bad thing about this governor's race would be winning, because I'd have to leave Tuscaloosa.
Absolutely.
But I mean that in a very heartfelt way. I mean that in a way to say that I feel blessed to represent the city of Tuscaloosa every single day.
And I got to give it to you, because I know during the 2011 tornado, I actually lived in Pratt City and was a part of that situation, And to watch what you did for Tuscaloosa, and it went across race lines. And I thought that's what was the coolest thing about it all, because you just didn't stick to fixing up one side of And you said you tried to go all across the board, and I thought that was very interesting.
Well, it's part of who we are and what we believe, and I was very honored to serve the people of Tuscaloosa, especially during that time. And that was a reflection of amazing citizens, an amazing team that I have at the city, and that team's going to come. Hopefully, a lot of them will come with us to Montgomery, because when you do things the right way, it's amazing what you can accomplish.
And I think it's a trend, just like you were saying earlier about even with Mayor Wolfen, you know, Randall, great friend of ours. It's a youth movement, but us as older guys or women, we trust you guys because you've been in the fire long enough. And I know he comes from a generation where I come from where they told us we had to wait our turn. And that's been 20 years now.
20 years.
And we're still waiting our turn. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to speak. So it is really refreshing to see a younger guy get out of there who has the credentials, who actually is qualified to do the job. And leading to that, what is your platform for governor? Everybody wants to know your platform.
Well, let me take a step back and I'll get to your question because it does speak to the other day. I had breakfast with Mayor Woodfin,
right.
and it was me and three other mayors from Mobile, Birmingham, and Huntsville, and Montgomery.
Right.
And what I loved about having that time with Mayor Woodfin was he was questioning things, and I think I love that because I went back to my staff meeting that day and said, okay. Mayor Woodfin is doing this, this, and this. By God, we need to be taking a look at this as well.
Right.
Because what youth brings to the table is not only passion and energy, it brings this ability to question norms. And that doesn't mean that's a negative thing. But there's always a better way to do business. Now, speaking of a better way to do business,
right.
Montgomery. First thing we're going to change is expectations. I mean, if you think about it, my entire 44 years on this earth, we've been 46, 47, 48, 49th, and everything that matters.
Jesus, yes.
Yeah, and it hasn't changed. In fact, 2 weeks ago, we were ranked 50th in the nation when it comes to premature birth.
And 47th in education, right?
Well, depending upon which category, you can go where you can actually get worse. And I'm tired of it. And so, number one, we're going to change expectations. We ought to be in the top 10 in everything that matters in the state. We're great people. Right. There's great people in the state.
Absolutely.
They deserve better government. The second thing that we're going to do is put value on the things that matter. Healthcare, education, jobs, infrastructure. If you think about Montgomery, all you think about now are either people who are going to jail or having to resign from office because they didn't fulfill their duties or uphold the law. Mm-hmm. Or the second thing that you think of is a bunch of ideologues who care more about the political fight than the people that they work for every day. I want to talk about real issues that matter. I want to know why we lead the nation in premature births. That's something that is shameful, morally shameful. I want to understand why that's happening and solve it.
Absolutely.
I want to improve healthcare outcomes. I want to know why. I believe I know why. We've had 8 rural hospitals either close or announced they've closed since 2010. That is a political decision, by the way. The reason why is because we didn't expand Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act, and we didn't expand it because it had President Obama's name attached to it.
Absolutely.
That is a strictly political decision that has cost 330,000 Alabamians opportunity for health care, and it's going to impact, get this stat, by the way. In Alabama, in our 54 rural counties, your life expectancy is 6 months less than the other 13 counties in Alabama.
Wow.
Just because of the poor health care that is happening.
Wow.
And when we didn't expand it because of President Obama's name being attached to it, because that's why we didn't do it. I don't care what anybody down there tells you.
Right.
That's why we didn't do it.
Right.
Then we've hurt the people we claim that we care about, that we claim to represent. So what we want to do is bring practical solutions. So how do we do it? Number one, we're gonna pass a lottery. We're going to tax.
Say that again.
We're going to pass a lottery.
He killed my question.
Wait a minute. Did you hear that? He said to pass the lottery now.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, it gets better.
Man.
Now we're really about to light up Facebook.
Yeah.
We're going to pass the lottery. We're going to tax existing gaming. We're going to get out of the shutdowns in these communities. You know, the people of Macon County or the people of Greene County have already gone to the polls and voted to have gaming in their community. And the fact that we continually try to shut down and cost thousands of people jobs, to me, is just, we've lost sight of what's important. And the third thing is that we're going to reach a compact with PCI. And if you do those 3 things, you're going to be able to generate somewhere in the neighborhood of $250 to $300 million new dollars a year. And with that $300 million new dollars, we're going to provide pre-K to every academic child that's academically at risk in our state in a K-12 setting. The second thing that we're going to do is expand Medicaid day one so we can give those hundreds of thousands of Alabamians a chance for better health care. we're going to work to make college affordable both on the 2-year and 4-year level. In fact, hopefully in January, if not February, we'll be outlining our education proposals, but you're going to see something very similar to what Tennessee has done with their program.
Right.
So those are the things that we're going to do immediately. Then we're going to pivot and look at corrections, which is a disaster in and of itself,
Yes.
and mental health in our state, which is a travesty.
He just took my other question. He's on it.
I think you read it.
Oh, you had to read about it. Did you read
we
about
got
it?
we got a good advanced team. But, no, those things matter deeply to us, and so we've got to solve those problems. You know, I hear all the time my friends in the other party talk about, you know, values and faith and morality.
Right.
Well, to me, it's not moral that those who suffer from mental illness in our state are immediately put at a disadvantage. It's not right to me that those that we have within our prison system are not given the ability to have true rehabilitation, so that when they come out of prison, they have an opportunity to go back into a job skill and not go back into a life of crime. I think it's immoral that we've lost over 500 babies last year because of a lack of prenatal care in our state, and I think it's an abomination to know that our education system is not preparing our children for a 21st century technology-driven environment. These things are happening. Now, my faith, my personal faith, my morals, my values tell me that we've got to change that dynamic. And I think it's very clear in this race, especially when we get to the general election, there's going to be one candidate that's going to be for the status quo, and there's going to be another candidate that's going to talk about moving all of Alabama forward.
I think that is one of the best things I've heard in a long time, which is removing status quo. And that is something we are, and that's why we're here, because I'm a Democrat. He's a Republican. And that is the whole purpose. Well, not, I'm sorry, you're not a Republican. I'm sorry, you're independent. I'm sorry. Same thing. But anyway, I'm sorry, forgive me, man. But
was he one of the 1.5%?
He's the 1.5%. He wrote something. I think
that's a going joke nobody knows.
Yes,
but I tell them all the time.
Yes, inside. But that's why we're here, to show people that you can still work together. And I think that is the attitude that we want Alabama to have now. Because, you know, we just went with the Doug Jones situation, and it took everyone to remove that guy. It took everyone. And I think it's going to take everyone to also make you governor. So it sounds great to finally hear somebody that is willing to just say, okay, let's work with everyone. Because I'll work with a Republican as long as we have the same agenda. It's not about titles, and I think you know about that, able to cross party lines, and I think you will be able to do that.
Well, we've been doing it for 12 years. You know, I'm not new to this party. I just, you know, and both on the Democrat and Republican side, I hear candidates talk about these things, but they've never done it in their careers. I mean, we've been doing this for 12 years, and the best indicator of future performance is past performance, and that's what we bring to the table. And let me also and I think this is an example of leadership, and that was Senator Richard Shelby. I admire the fact that he said, I will not vote for Roy Moore. And I'm certain that took a lot of courage within the party. That's, you know, quite frankly, we need that type of courage on both sides of the aisle. And we've got to have it if we're going to address these systemic issues in the state of Alabama. Because today, Alabama's looked upon, whether we want to agree with this or not, much better because Doug Jones won. And the people around the nation got to see exactly who we are as a people. We're good people. We're well-meaning people. We want what's best for people. And that election, whether you say it's fair or not, has validated that. We've got to keep the momentum going, because tomorrow when children go to school, most children in Alabama are not going to schools that should be meeting a standard of excellence we desire. Absolutely. So whether it's healthcare or infrastructure, we've got a lot of work to do. But together, man, this state can do anything.
Yeah, I noticed because I personally was looking into Governor Ivy's. This is before I knew that you were running and things. I was looking, and to be honest, it was the fact that she was a woman. I said, maybe she can shake up Alabama just to be different. Then she started doing the same rigmarole and then she went against Danny Carr, which is a friend of ours, and we was like, he's doing a great job for Jefferson County. The people want him. They expressed that.
They voted Democrat. And
then she wanted to go back with the party. Then with Roy Moore, she stepped out and said that being a woman, she said that the timing is wrong and we just don't know, but we need a Republican in the seat. So that killed that for me. So when I started looking into you, and I'm not Democrat, but I vote Democrat. I will vote for the best person. So I looked at the fact that you were very instrumental in getting UAB football back. You were instrumental in getting the first black sheriff in Tuscaloosa.
Absolutely.
The first black city council president, the one that just got in now. So I said, well, maybe he's a little different. Then when I found out that they wanted you to go Republican just to, I guess, so they can back you. So evidently they're looking at you across the
board.
Across the board,
Right.
that you are good enough to be on their side. So I'm interested in you, and I hate to put this guy out there. He's actually backing your opponent. We're not even going to give him credit, but I like what you're doing. What can you do for people like me who are not Democrat but are willing to give the best person a chance? What are you going to do for, and I got another thing that I want to talk about, but I want to see if he'll bring it up. What are you going to do for us? That
The independents.
The independence part, nonpartisan, independent, who just want better government. What are you going to do for us?
Well, we're going to secure healthcare in the state, which is collapsing. So number one, if you go to the emergency room, there's going to be a better chance that you're going to be able to get in, and you're going to see a qualified doctor that can help treat you. I mean, that's as simple as you can boil it down to. We're going to first of all, we're going to do the things such as passing the lottery, get it payments in lieu of taxes on gambling, or go ahead and tax gambling where we have it. Use that $300 million to expand Medicaid, which is going to improve health care. We're going to increase access to pre-K in a dramatic way across Alabama that can change the playing field. Time didn't allow me to talk to you about what we've done in Tuscaloosa with pre-K, but it's absolutely extraordinary what we've been able to do with it. The third thing that we're going to do is we're going to pass the Alabama Alliance for Infrastructure Plan, which right now is hopefully going to, not hopefully, will replace 20% of our roads and bridges that are functionally obsolete right now in our own state. So you think about from education to healthcare to infrastructure. Mm-hmm. Plus, we're going to take on the long-standing challenges within corrections and mental health. Right. There's those. Every one of those things impact your life. Think about this. Right now in Alabama, is there a core function of state government that's not in crisis?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, every single one of them. And yeah, I believe that certainly we're the best candidate to deal with crisis. We're the best. We understand how, as a mayor, we understand how to deal with crisis. We understand how to make the trains run on time. I've never been afraid in my political career to tell you what I felt is the truth, and be man enough to take on those potential consequences that come with it. Because I've always felt like you've always got to say and do the right things. And I had a good friend tell me when I got elected, he said, Walt, do a good job and the politics will take care of itself. And I think all of us can learn from that. And that's my style. So as an independent, you know what you're going to get? You're going to get good, honest, transparent government.
Accountability, accessibility, and transparency.
Yeah, and if you don't believe me, look at my 12-year record in Tuscaloosa. So
no, I trust me. I follow you.
I think that's what I'm trying. Again, other candidates can talk a good game, but they've never done it.
Absolutely.
Right. Exactly.
And there's something about what's the saying that the best indicator of future performance is past performance.
Exactly.
And so I think that our record speaks for itself, and we don't lose those values when we go to Montgomery.
And I see last week I was looking at the newspaper. You took on the 21st century issue, which is marijuana.
Oh, absolutely.
And
that's what I was gonna.
I knew you were gonna get there. But we have talked to former counselors and a lot of different people here in Birmingham about working on the decriminalization of it. Now, the idea that you had was that instead of jailing, give citations or tickets
and move on.
Can you elaborate more on that?
Well, here's a couple of reasons why. Number one, with corrections collapsing, with a recidivism rate of 70%, with mental health collapsing. By the way, the largest mental health facility is in Tuscaloosa Bryce Hospital. Absolutely. The second largest one is the Tuscaloosa Metro Jail. 30% of our inmates are on psychotropic drugs, and that's because of the collapse of the mental health system. So you've got those two things collapsing. In the meantime, normally you have officer turnover rates of 10 to 15%. So we've never been stretched thinner with more challenges than we have across the state of Alabama. And when we look at Tuscaloosa, my job as mayor is to figure out what can we do to be more effective and efficient with our resources. So I talk to Chief Anderson daily, and Steve is an amazing public servant, and so we got to talking about the marijuana issue and how much time our officers are having to spend on that versus something that is more in the issue of public safety for every one of our citizens.
Right.
I like the idea of getting a ticket and moving on. It does no one any good to put somebody in the criminal justice system with a small amount of marijuana.
Absolutely.
It doesn't make our community safer. It doesn't do anything to help that individual get on a better road and a better pathway.
Right.
So let's take it off the table. Let's find a more efficient way to deal with it. And I'm excited about it because we've got, we've got all these different issues. We've got to figure out a way to solve it. I think it's in the best case of the person being ticketed. I think it's in the best case of the overall public safety of your community. And we've got to start this movement of decriminalizing because we just don't have the time or resources to deal with it. And I think it's a natural first good step for Tuscaloosa and hopefully the state.
Just two of the things that we're going to work on is the gun violence in Birmingham, Alabama, and also the legalization of marijuana. We know that they're trying to build the 3 prisons here, and we're trying to kind of balance that out because we feel as young black men or black men in general, we'll be the ones that filling up the prisons.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Marijuana, I don't think that people should go to jail for long periods of time for marijuana. Now I'm talking about the normal cases. I'm not talking about your
trafficking cases, your things of that nature. No.
And I'm sure there'll be some dark, grainy video of me talking about this at some point, trying to say you're soft.
And that's why we
crime.
wanted to talk to you about it first.
But here's the thing: is that actually you're being tougher on crime because you can go out and jail a lot of people for small amounts of marijuana. But have you really made your community safer?
Exactly.
What's not making your community safe is that 70% recidivism rate coming out of Department of Corrections. Because here's the thing: when somebody comes out of corrections, most likely they still have a substance abuse problem because 80% of those that get into the Department of Corrections have a substance abuse problem. Most likely do not have a high school education. We know that through data. So we've done nothing to improve education and then has no job skills. So what happens? You go back to a life of crime.
Exactly.
And you know what? That is a very predictable outcome.
Yes.
Why don't we change this dynamic? Why keep doing the same things that don't work?
Right.
And so I'm ready to have this fight with my friends on the other side. Because the way we're doing business now, you can have all the dark, grainy commercials you want to in the world.
Right.
You're not making Alabama safer. You're actually making it more dangerous. And so as mayor, my job is to find solutions to a problem. And both Chief Anderson, who by no means is soft on crime, both Chief and I both believe this is the right decision.
We were actually, and we have a question here as well. And we know we had to let you go. We were feeding the homeless earlier, and I asked them, I said, we're going to get ready to interview candidate Walt Maddox. Any questions would you like to ask? And they were saying that the home rule for Alabama, would you be willing to work to where it brings back the power to Birmingham and to different little cities like that?
I am absolutely in favor of more home rule. As a mayor, it's extremely frustrating for me to have so many major decisions of our community held hostage by Montgomery, especially by individuals who have no idea what our citizens want. Again, I revert back to being mayor because that's what I am. There's so many things that I know if we had the ability to do that our citizenry would support it and wrap around it. Home rule helps, the lack of home rule keeps that from happening. The thing is, when you're a mayor or you're on the city council or you're on the county commission, you go get your own groceries at Walmart or Target or wherever you're Publix. I'm trying to mention everybody now. We need to Piggly Wiggly. But there's no one that guards you against your constituents, and I love it because you get to talk to the people who pay your salary. Home rule would do just that, and that way decisions actually become more accountable. Because to me, there's so many things we could do to make Tuscaloosa better. But we're held hostage by an archaic 1901 Constitution that at some point this state's going to have to begin lifting itself out of.
He's saying all the right things. Look, everybody that's listening right now, we got to let him go. We got to send him back to Tuscaloosa. He has an event that he has to speak in, but you will be coming back with us.
Absolutely. In fact, I love the idea. I've done almost, I think we've done now more than 100 town hall meetings since I've been mayor.
Wow.
I like the give and take, and sometimes people agree with me, sometimes they don't, but I work for the people of Tuscaloosa, so I like taking questions. I'm a gubernatorial candidate, so I'm auditioning with the people of the state of Alabama, so I don't mind taking questions.
And we may be working on that thing about that also and putting together a really big town hall meeting here in Birmingham. But, we're the type of people, we don't agree always. I may not agree with you always, but I want you to do what's best for the state. And that's what I just got this strange feeling you're going to be great.
Well, we're going to...
And rarely do he know me. I rarely ever say that about anybody.
Well, thank you. We're going to work hard.
Yeah.
You have a question?
And I see it.
Yeah, so one of the questions from Ms. McClure is ending money bail. Not sure. She wants to know what's your stance on ending against bail.
I think high bail rates.
Because we have a couple questions like that, and also
we only got about 5 minutes.
Second chance is like re-entry program, but you've kind of touched on re-entry.
Here we're developing very solid policy positions on all of this. But let me give you some guiding principles with me on this. Number one is any type of crime that you've been accused or ultimately convicted, if convicted, both should meet a standard that's fair. So excessive bail rates on crimes that are, let's say a small amount of marijuana.
Right.
That's not fair. There has to be a sense of fairness within our judicial system, both on the front end and the back end. So that's going to be a guiding principle with me always. That's something in Tuscaloosa we've taken very seriously. We worked with municipal court in ensuring that we don't want to excessively fine somebody to make the fines above the crime that's been committed. And in Alabama, that's happening way too much, and it's got to be addressed. So I'm looking forward to addressing that, and certainly we'll have more to come on that issue.
And it's basically sending them back in the system, but you got
trapping them in the system.
I mean, you're going right back in. You're stuck. You're stuck. Okay, you got about 2 minutes. Give us a close. We know you got to get on out.
And we'll close as well.
And we'll close as well, but we know you got to get out.
Well, and I appreciate that because we've got to speak at 5 o'clock in Tuscaloosa.
Absolutely.
Let me close with this: is that I hope that everyone that listens to this or hears this podcast later understands that this is about changing Alabama for the better. How many times have we sat around and thought, why aren't our roads better? Why aren't our schools better? Why isn't our healthcare system better? Right. We now are in the ability to change that. You have a candidate in us that's running for governor because we know how to change. We know how to make progressive things happen in our state, and we're going to be relentless in making it happen. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm an Alabamian. This is where I was born and raised, and this is where they're going to bury me. I want to change the dynamic so that Eli and Taylor have a state, if they choose to, they can grow up in. I don't want a state where the headlines say that the UN recent study has never seen cases of hookworm in a developed country like Alabama.
Absolutely.
That should never be the case.
Absolutely.
And then when you look at who's most qualified to do this, 12 years of experience of leading, of being the chief executive officer for one of Alabama's largest cities. I know what it means to lead through crisis, both the Great Recession and April 27th, and I know what it means to be bipartisan and achieve results. We can take that formula, we can change Alabama for the better, and we are going to work relentlessly between now and November to make it happen. And I appreciate you guys having me. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go.
Hey,
let's do this.
We appreciate you coming, and we're going to extend the invitation again. But you have done what most won't do, and that's take time to come and talk, and we highly appreciate you for that.